Joining me live now is the former Victorian Labor Minister, now Orizontus Managing Partner, Phil Dallidakis. Phil, I want to play you, first of all, an exchange between our reporter in Melbourne and the Victorian Premier. And Georgie, our reporter, was asking about your piece in The Age this week. Have a listen.
It's not just about the violence, though, it's about the inconvenience for so many of these businesses that 2 years on, every weekend there's protesters out there. It's not about stopping people protest. Can there not be a way that they can protest somewhere else, that they still have their democratic right to protest, but it's just not impacting the livelihood of so many small business owners?
So, as I said before, the data shows us that more and more people are continuing to come into the CBD every weekend. The number of the foot traffic counts that are undertaken by the City of Melbourne and by the Department of Transport shows that foot traffic numbers continues to increase. We are seeing more and more investments made in new hospitality venues in our city. I think the Herald Sun reported just last week on the significant hundreds of millions of dollars of investments that's coming in, particularly around that top end of Burke and Collins Street precinct.
Phil Dallidakis, you wrote in The Age this week that democracy depends not only on the right to speak, but also on the right to feel safe while others do. You've had enough?
Yeah, so, Kieran, I'm a little bit bemused by the comments by Jacinta. The only thing I can think of is that when she says that foot traffic is up on the weekend, she's including the protesters on a Sunday to make her point. The fact remains that the major tenet of both my piece yesterday in The Age, but also I wrote about this 12 months ago in the AFR, and nothing's changed, which is why I wrote about it again, is the simple fact is, why is somebody's right to protest given a greater right than my right to walk the streets safely, a worker's right to earn an income and not have his or her employment withdrawn or reduced, or the right of somebody else to walk about the street and feel safe without being threatened, intimidated, or abused. And we've got countless examples of businesses in the CBD being damaged and staff being terrorised by people who are theoretically, supposedly meant to be peacefully protesting. There's nothing peaceful about it, and it's now time for us to look at different ways for people to express their protest movements without impacting or impinging on other people.
And we've seen the police injured recently as well, and you're calling for the thing you want to see is a permit system, a CBD protest permit system and zone for where the protests will be allowed to take place, that it's not just free rein and shutting down the city.
Yeah, so there are a number of ways that you can do this, again, that I think demonstrate respect for all people concerned. Fitzroy Gardens, for those people that know Victoria well, is a significant and huge area. The Treasury Gardens near the Premier's office at One Treasury Place is a significant size as well. You've got Flagstaff Gardens, and then you've got gardens opposite the Arts Centre. All of these places are very close to both bus, rail and tram public transport. But you can also do it in a way that some of those areas don't actually need permits. So if somebody wants to hold a march and a protest from the State Library to Fitzroy Gardens, then you could probably allow for that up Lonsdale, up Latrobe Street to Fitzroy Gardens and do that in a way that means that they don't need a permit. I'm talking about walking right through the CBD and disrupting and engaging in really what has become antisocial behaviour. Now, of course, there are people that go and attend these marches and protests that are not violent. But unfortunately, far too often, every week, we've seen the violence erupt. And most certainly, people that saw the violence from just Sunday gone saw police attacked, and people attend the protests with glass bottles and glass in them and rocks. Who attends a protest that's meant to be peaceful and takes weapons with them in advance?
Yeah, indeed. And you've pointed out in the piece as well that while many Melburnians supported the lockdowns through the pandemic, they've taken something from the state as well, and you call it our collective empathy, the mental scars, the fractured trust and the polarisation the lockdown seeded continue to be the lasting legacy of Daniel Andrews. You believe that that's part of the mix here as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing that's changed pre-COVID to post-COVID is the fact that Melburnians were a very tolerant, accepting people. And then post-COVID, we've seen a lot of very selfish, individualistic behaviour that has put their rights ahead of the rights of everybody else. And we saw through COVID and the lockdowns in Melbourne, the most severe lockdowns of anywhere in the world other than probably Wuhan in China itself. We've seen people then lose trust in what government says to them, what government tells them. And so people take it into their own hands to do their own thing. And so what we need is we need to walk that back. To walk that back, we need to acknowledge that we made some mistakes. We need to try and embrace those people that have different points of view, of course, and try and encourage them to express their points of view in a different way. And to do that, we need to get Melbourne and Victoria back on track. If we do that collectively, we're going to get a much better outcome than if we do it individually.
I want to play you a little of what Leah Finocchiaro said. She's the Chief Minister of the Northern Territory and says that they've seen a big decline in crime. Have a look at what she said to me.
It's pretty simple. Back in the victims and put their right to be safe above the rights of offenders. And that's the approach we've taken to everything. We're happy to share with Victoria, but we acknowledge the Territory had a problem, and that's something that state needs to come to terms with, is first acknowledging that something's wrong, and second is doing everything it takes to get it done. And
yeah, maybe they need to take a leaf out of the Finocchiaro book, acknowledge the problem in the first place.
Well, I think what's the great saying that unfortunately common sense is not so common. The fact remains that it doesn't make you a bad leader if you acknowledge that there are changes that you need to make or that you got it wrong. I actually think it's a strength of leadership to be able to say that there are things that we can do better or the things that we need to take some further advice. We've tried something, it hasn't worked. We're going to go back to the drawing board. And the last thing, the point that I'll make, because of course I do proudly come from a Labor background where we do support and enshrine the right to protest. And so, for example, for our colleagues at the ACTU and at Trades Hall, the ability for workers to be able to go on a strike and to march for wages and conditions is actually enshrined in law, because of course if people go to Fair Work Australia and they seek protected industrial action, then they're allowed to do that. So we're not trying to impinge on anybody's rights across the community. What I'm putting forward is a plan to ensure that people can have a right to go about their lives on a daily basis without fear of threatening or intimidatory behaviour, and also allow people that want to protest or march to do so in areas that are protected as well.
Former Victorian Labor Minister and now Orizontos Managing Partner, Phil Dalladakis. Appreciate your insights, your thoughts. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Kieran. Keep well.